Hello, welcome to another informative episode on White Davy Gardening and Worm Farm. Don't mind my toque, I was on the road. I just got back from the supermarket and I ran out of time to get things properly organized. But thank you for joining me. Hi, Cian. Hi, Ann White. So today we are going to be discussing companion planting, what it is and the benefits, and I will be sharing a few tips. Hi, Harnav. I'll be sharing a few tips on plants that can be interplanted together. So, what is companion planting? Companion planting is a practice of growing different crops together in the same space in order to reap benefit. And so, what are some of the benefits of companion planting? It increases pollination, it invites beneficial insects that will get rid of your pests. It also maximizes the use of space and increase your gardening yield. It also provides habitats for these beneficial insects. And so you want to practice companion planting because of the many benefits that you get from it. It also helps to increase productivity. So research has shown that when you interplant various crops, they work together. So some plants will be providing nutrients to the soil, some might be attracting good insect or beneficial insects, and some of them will enhance even the flavor of your produce. And so that is why it is so important to do interplanting. But guess there's one more benefit to it that a lot of us will be very thankful for, and that is interplanting allows you to use less space and get more plants out. For example, if you have, say, you're planting corn, you can plant corn with cucumbers and peas and beans, and the three can go together and they're growing in the same space. And so that is one of the benefits. Now, how does companion planting increase pollination? Well, certain species of plants will bloom flowers that naturally attracts insects that are good pollinators. And so when you interplant these with your regular crops, then that is going to cause these insects to pollinate your plant, and that will give you more produce. And we know that in these times when we are having more problems with chemicals in our garden, and sometimes we don't use chemicals in our garden, but our neighbors might be using chemicals in our garden. And based on the rule for organic gardening, where you have to have 25 feet away from your organic garden, no pesticides or any form of chemicals can be used for it to be considered organic. So if that is the case, then even though we do our best not to use harmful chemicals in our garden, we don't really have 100% organic produce. So because of these chemicals, you will find that a lot of our insect or pollinators are disappearing. 2 years ago, I had a lot of bees in my yard. This year, I haven't seen any, apart from, what's that one called? The bumblebee. That's the only one I saw, and it's only a few of them that I saw this year. I had a lot of wasps, but a lot of the pollinators just wasn't there. And so you have to interplant with a view to increase the number of pollinators that are going to be in your garden. What are some plants that are great for companion planting? I'm going to be getting to that a little later on. It's a very good question on White. Pollen, companion planting also work as a good pest control. How is that? Well, there are two ways in which companion planting work as pest control. One, there are certain plants that will, hi Serene. So we're discussing companion planting and the benefits, and then later on I'm going to be discussing some of the plants that can be interplanted together to give us the best outcome. Right. So as I was saying now, companion planting work best as pest control in two ways. Cold, hello, cold. um, it's not bad in terms of how cold it should be here at this time of year. It's unusually warm, but that is only until later on today. I was on the road. I just got back and right away started the live. So that is why I look like this. I didn't get time to sort out my hair, so I can't take off my toque. We're going to be having a snowstorm for the next 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah. It's early for me here. My fingers are stiff. Oh, hush, my dear. Yeah, it was cold last week and the week before, but it warmed up this week, which is unusual, and that is why we're having the snowstorm tomorrow. Okay, yes. So the two main reason why companion planting work as pest control is that one, some plants naturally repel pests. And some of these plants are the very herbs that we plant, our parsley, our thyme, sage. A lot of the herbs that we plant are good at repelling pests. So that is one way. And then the second way that it is beneficial is that some of the plants that we plant invites or attract beneficial insect that will feed on the pest. So those are the two ways in which companion planting work as a good pest control. Okay, next point. Companion planting can maximize your space. Right. So companion planting maximizes your space because you can put more than one crop in one spot. So as I mentioned before, say you're planting corns, you're planting sweet potato, and you're planting peas and beans. Your sweet potato will take up the floor or the ground, will run along the ground. Your peas and beans will trellis up on your corns, and your corns can be planted among the sweet potato. So you have three crops in one position, in one location. Uh, I think the Canadian First Nations calls this tree sister planting because you're growing three crops in the same one spot. Yes, so that is one of the benefit of companion planting because it helps you to maximize your space so you can actually get more from less space. Yes, my dear Serene, I have the same problem here. Sweet potatoes, I tried. That wasn't last year, was it? No. Yeah, that was last year spring, not this year spring. I tried, but the season was way too short. We have 3 to 4 months of growing time, and I really want to grow sweet potatoes because I love sweet potatoes, especially to make some nice Jamaican potato pudding or sweet potato pudding. In Jamaica, we call it potatoes. We don't say sweet potatoes. But then if you say potato here, then you're talking about something different. In Jamaica, what they call potato in Canada and the US, we call it Irish potato in Jamaica. So I tend to say potato when I'm talking about sweet potato. Kumara. Oh, nice, interesting. Um, so yes, as I was saying about the sweet potatoes, this year I'm gonna try again. So I have started an experiment to see if I can get those potato slips started, and I'm going to plant them because they require 6 months in order to produce. I know that in Jamaica you have some that we call the 3 months variety and the 6 month variety, and the 3 months one produce within 3 months of planting, but I don't know that we have that here. So what I'm going to be doing is planting my sweet potatoes, starting them indoors 2 to 3 months before the growing season start, with the hope that I will be able to harvest some sweet potatoes. So I'll see how that goes. If they're not ready for harvesting within that time, I'm going to make sure that I plant them in containers that I can take indoors to give them an extra month or something of the sort. Hi, Maze Homestead. Hi, Pit Stop. I'm glad you were able to join us now. The last time you came on just as we were ending. So we're discussing companion planting and its benefits, and I'm going to also be discussing some plants that can be interplanted together for the best produce. Bye, Serene. Have a lovely day. Oh, thank you, May. Okay, right. So we looked at companion planting and how it can increase pollination. We looked at how it can be used for pest control, and we look at how we can use it to maximize our growing space. Now, what are some of the things that can be planted with corns? And you notice I mentioned corns because I love corns. I don't like the corns that I get here in Canada. I get sweet corns. I don't like those. I like the hardy type of corns because they are nicer for roasting, and I love roast corns. And they have a nicer flavor when you put them in your soup. The sweet corn tend to make your soup sweet. I don't. Soup must not be sweet. Based on my culture, soup must not be sweet. So I don't really like sweet corn because it's too soft. Anyway, yes. So what are some of the things that can be planted with corns? Things like sweet potatoes, beans, cucumbers, squash. A lot of things can be grown with corns. Any of those vining plants that can run on the ground or trellis. However, you don't want to plant. If you're going to be planting things like cucumbers with your corns, don't put squash with it. Members of the same family, of in the squash members all members in the squash family, you don't want to plant them together. Keep them separate. So if you're planting melons, you don't plant it with cucumbers, you don't plant it with squash, you don't plant it with zucchini. No, you have to keep them separate because that will invite more pests, and for some reason they just don't seem to like each other, and then they will be fighting for space as well. I am doing hash with a Japanese yam that we harvested right now. Oh, those Japanese yam, are those the purple ones? I bought some of those Japanese yam today because I want to see what they're like. They look like sweet potato, but I pinched one and it looks somewhat like a yam we have in Jamaica that we call negro yam or full moon, because when you plant it certain time of year it is white inside, but when you plant it and on a full moon it is purple inside. So I pinched a piece of the Japanese yam and it looked somewhat like that, so I'm going to try it. Oh yes, with white flesh. Okay, the ones that I got today have purple flesh inside. They taste like regular potato and sweet mix. Hmm. Oh, interesting. I would like to try that one too. Right. So as I was saying, corns can be planted with any member of the squash family, with sweet potato, peas and beans, cucumbers and stuff like that. You notice I said cucumbers. That's what we call it in Jamaica. Here they say cucumbers. potato, same difference. Now, cucumbers, what are some of the things that you can interplant with cucumbers? Peas and beans, radishes, lettuce, sunflower, tomatoes. There are so many things that can be planted with cucumbers. They're not really much of a fussy plant. Now, let's talk about lettuces. What are some of the things that can grow with lettuces? The variety of things that can grow with lettuce, it is phenomenal. There is no end to it. I want to plant cucumbers so badly. And why don't you plant it? You don't grow cucumbers? And why not? Right. So lettuce, you can plant lettuce with corns. You can plant them with onions, beets, asparagus, radishes, carrots, parsnips, strawberries. The list is endless. Is it that time of season for them? Oh, okay. So you can't plant, you want to plant it like no, but it's not the season for it. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Right. Let's look at tomatoes now. What are some of the things that you can interplant with tomatoes? Callaloo, also known as amaranth, which there are many varieties of it, can be grown with lettuces. Basil, asparagus, carrots, parsley, peas and beans, sage, mint, chive, celery, squash, and the list goes on and on. So these things can be planted with your tomatoes. You don't want to plant peppers, however, with tomatoes because peppers and tomatoes are somewhat related and they're affected by the same type of pests. When you plant plants that are affected by the similar type of pests together, then you increase your chances of having a pest infestation. And so it is not a good idea to plant peppers close to your tomato plants. Now, what can be grown with peppers? Cilantro, coriander, carrots, onions, lettuce, squash, beets, garlic, spinach, parsley. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this flower properly, but echinacea. I always see it in the supermarket. I like the way it looks, and my research said it is a good pest control, but I've never heard the name being pronounced, so I don't know if I got the name right. Let's see. And why it says yes, same. I want to plant, when I plant mine, my cucumbers, she has a problem with planting cucumbers. They don't do well. Okay. I don't know that tomatoes and peppers are of the same family. Um, so I've seen in a research, I don't know how true that is, but the fact of the matter is that they're affected by the similar type of pests, and so it is not a good idea to grow them together. If you're going to be growing them together, it means that you're going to have to find out what other plants you can use that will control this particular type of pests and interplant it with them so that you can control the amount of pests that you have. Okay, and do you do interplanting? And if so, what are some of the things that you interplant together? Okay, so while you're thinking about that, I have been planning my garden for 2021, and some of the things that I am thinking of doing, I went out and bought myself some seeds because based on my research, There are some plants that will attract beneficial insects to the garden. And so what I have been doing is researching the type of crops that I want to grow and the type of pests that affect these crops. And then when I know the type of pest that is going to affect these plants, then I buy seeds that will produce, whether it is by using scent or attracting these, what you call them, these beneficial insects, so that they can help to control the population of the pest. So I know what I want to plant. I know each type of plant that I want to grow. I look for the type of pest that affect them, and then I buy plants that I'm going to be growing, intercropping with them in order to help to control these pests. Okay, I think you're talking to each other. Okay, no problem. Right. You just look at your plants, your cucumber plants, and they look sad. Yeah, it breaks our heart when we look at our plants and see that they are not doing very well, because you get joy from seeing your plants looking all healthy and nice. And when they're not doing well, it's almost as if it is our kids that are not feeling well, and it makes us sad. But I guess it's just another part of life, just like we cannot really control or when our kids get sick or not, then it's the same thing with growing our plants. We have some control, but not a lot. I can understand how you feel when you see your cucumbers or other plants struggling. And I think it is when you look at a plant and you see it looking all luscious and nice, it is very attractive to the eyes. And I think that is why a lot of us have problems with pruning our plants. We know that if we prune our plants, we can get better produce, larger, better taste, because the plant can send more nutrients to the produce rather than trying to provide nutrients to a large sum of crops and providing the leaf with nutrients. So pruning helps you to increase your crop production. It can increase the amount of crop you get. It can increase the taste of your produce. But when you prune it, it is good because it reduces the need for the plant to be sending a lot of nutrients to leaves that are not really serving any particular purpose. But when you look at the plants and you see them, they're looking all dejected because they don't have on a lot of leaves, then sometimes it's hard to prune, but it is necessary. May says, random question, not quite on topic, but how do you do live videos like this? I was told that you have to have at least 1,000 subs to do so. Yes, I was deterred for a pretty long time from doing a live because that's what I thought. And then I saw that someone else was doing a live and they didn't have 1,000. So I decided to do some research on that and realized that if you're using a tablet or a cell phone, you're going to need 1,000 subs. I don't know why YouTube make it that way, but if you're using a mobile, or you have to have 1,000 subs. Um, if you use a laptop, however, or a computer, then you don't have to have 1,000 subs. It is unfair. It is very unfair from my perspective, that is, but I guess they have their reason for doing it like that. But yes, if you're using a laptop or a computer, then you can do a live from those devices without having 1,000 subs. So it's only if you're using a phone or a tablet that you have to have 1,000 subscribers. Hi, her healthy home. How are you? Right. So your laptop and your tablet, your laptop and your computers usually have a camera on it. So there is no specific device that is needed. But if you are using a cell phone or a tablet, then you will have to get special devices to do your live. Oh, you're most welcome, Ms. Olmsted. See what I'm missing, if I'm missing anyone. Okay, good. I am not. Okay, so what are you guys planning for your garden? Are you planning ahead, like what you're going to be planting next year and stuff like that? Are you working on project to get your garden going for next spring? You're welcome. And White, do you still have an outdoor garden going now? Yes and no. I am trying to keep what I have alive. Is it, how cold is it where you are, Pit Stop? When you say yes and no and White, what is it that you have outdoors now? I don't have anything outdoors apart from my garlic that I planted maybe a month and a half ago. And let's see, I have some scallion and green onions planted out there, but that's pretty much all I have growing outside at the moment. Oh, we plan to do kale and spinach. Have never grown spinach. I would like to grow some. Is there more than one variety of spinach? I really don't know. I would like to grow some, but if there are more than one variety, which one would you recommend and why? Uh, oh. May's Homestead says I have garlic planted ready for spring. Nice. Uh, Healthy Home says I have kale garlic planted too. Just planted my garlic. Nice. Should be a nice harvest next year. And White says my kales are outside and my herbs are inside. Okay, that's why you said yes and no. So does your garden ever get cold to the point where you can't plant at any point in time during the year? It will be 88 today, but the temperature drops to 60 tomorrow and will last for a week. Okay. So is pit stop, is 60 bad for your weather for planting? I am planning ahead. I think next year I want to try having a food forest type area. Oh, that would be nice. Hopefully, when you get that up and running, we'll get a nice tour of it. I have rosemary and onion chives outside for herbs. Oh, so can can all of you allow plants to stay outside apart from like the onion and garlic type of plants? Can your plants stay outdoors all year round? Because here there are very few plants that can stay outdoors. I only plant kale over the winter. Okay. Outside, I have kale, cabbage, lettuce, peas, celery, herbs, and the rest will be pulled up this week. Whoa, that's a large amount. You can have actually have cabbage and lettuce and stuff like that outside now. I'm jealous. I'm so jealous. Yes, because I'm in the desert. Oh, and the night will go down to the highs 30. Okay, that's interesting. Not sure about the different type of spinach, but I know that there are many types of kale. We are planning to do a food forest. Okay, her healthy home says yes, many different varieties of kale. I like Bloomsdale long-standing. Okay, I'll have to look in the greenhouses around here and see what type of seeds they have, what variety they have. Cabbage is a winter crop. Yeah, a lot of those cruciferous plants love the cool weather, but they can't grow here. No, they can't. They definitely cannot grow here. Once our temperatures reach into the temperature doesn't even have to go into the minus. They will die. Our temperatures can go as low as -50 without wind chill. So nothing can survive here apart from fruit trees that have been modified to grow here. In fact, Saskatchewan originally could not grow anything apart from shrubs. There were no trees here originally, just shrubs. So all the trees that you see here, all the food stuff that we have here, they had to be modified in order to be able to grow here in Saskatchewan. So definitely cabbage and stuff like that will not make it outdoors. It's just things like members of the onion family and your fruit trees that can survive. And not all fruit trees can survive either. Okay. Yeah, there are so many things that I want to grow, and I really don't know. There is just no more space because when I first started my garden, I had about 8 by 10 square foot of garden, and I keep on extending until my husband realized that I'm going to be taking over the yard. So each year he would come and says, okay, you can get this more spot, just that little spot there, add on to your garden. And then the following year he says, okay, you can get that little spot there. And so I keep on extending the garden, but I think I've taken up all that I can take. We have to leave a bit of space in the backyard for the kids because I don't really like them playing in the front yard because they're right on the road. So I think I've taken up all the garden space that I can. So now I'm going to have to try to find ways to grow vertically if I want to be growing more stuff. My strawberry perennial herbs, berry bushes all stay out. Yeah, I have strawberries out too. I don't know how well they're gonna do because I have them in containers, so I don't know if that makes a difference because containers tend to plants don't do well in containers over winter here. So I don't know if they're gonna survive. We'll have to see about that. My sister-in-law next door has strawberries, but hers are planted in the ground, so they keep coming back. So maybe I should have planted some. Oh, bye, Adrian. Have a lovely evening. Yeah, so maybe I should have planted some of my strawberries in the ground. Oh, yes, I forgot about my strawberries which are outside. -50, I couldn't survive outside. Yes, it is pretty brutal. It is the good thing with that temperature, it's very rare. I think I've only seen -50 once. It usually go to -38 to -45, and that would last for a week to maybe 2 weeks, and then it starts to warm up a bit. But every year for 2 weeks, you can expect temperatures between -35 and -40 something there. Yeah, usually somewhere in late January, early February. Must be -15. No, not -15, -50. Yeah, yep, it is terrible. Uh, humans should not live here. It We didn't know what we were getting into. Yeah, we had no idea what. When someone say they're hot or they're cold, if you have never experienced that before, you just cannot know what it is until you experience it. It is awful. It is awful. I'm really so happy that my daughter is being homeschooled so that I don't have to go out on the road. The only time now that I have to go outside is on the days when I look after my worms. Then I will be going into the garage, which is heated, so it's not too bad. And if it snows, then if it snows, then I'll have to go out and shovel the snow. And if I have to go to the supermarket or stuff like that. But for this year, I'm so happy I don't have to be out there unnecessary. And since as my daughter is home for school, it means that I'm no longer working, so I don't have to be outdoors. I love construction, but when it comes to winter, I used to hate when we have to be outdoors. And sometimes, depending on the project that you're doing, you cannot cut inside the house. For example, if you're working on a basement project and the people live upstairs, you cannot cut in the house. So you have to be outdoors cutting all those material in winter. It is terrible. The only good thing is that my boss never used to work once the temperature reached into the minus 30s unless we can stay indoors all the time. But anyway, that's that. Back to our gardening plans. Yeah, there is so much I want to do next year. So I'm thinking of making a list of what I need. I got some of the seeds that I intend to plant already. I'll be growing a lot more flowers this year in order to help with pollination. And a lot of these flowers, they not only help with pollination, but they are good for pest control. So I got a few seeds that was delivered yesterday and some the day before. I'll be sharing some of those with you shortly and the benefits of those planting those yeah, planting them. So yeah. All right. um, I think we have covered all of the points that I wanted to discuss today. We have looked at companion planting and the benefits. So I'm just going to go back over them for those who joined the show a bit late. We looked at the fact that companion planting increases pollination. It can be used for pest control. It maximizes the use of space. It increases your garden yield and it provides a happy habitat for beneficial insects. And then we went down into discussing companion planting, how it increased pollination because certain species of plants can be combined to protect each other by affecting or attracting pollinators. And then we looked at how it works as a pest control in that it will act as a natural pest repellent and also it will attract beneficial insect to your garden. These insects will eat those pests and control your pest population. And we look at how it maximizes space because some plants can be planted together. You can plant up to three different type of crop in one space depending on what it is that you are growing. You just need to consider how much space each plant need. For example, we use the corn where we said that when you plant corns, you can trellis your beans and peas up onto the corns while you plant things like sweet potatoes underneath, and those will just run along the ground. So in that way, you are maximizing your growing space. We also looked at some of the things that can be grown together, like your cucumbers, which can be grown with peas and beans, radishes, sunflowers, stuff like that. We looked at tomatoes, which can be planted with callaloo, otherwise known as amaranth. basil, asparagus, cucumbers, marigold, lettuce, nasturtium, parsley, peas, etc., etc. And we look at peppers that can be grown with cilantro, coriander, carrots, parsley, cucumbers, thyme, etc. And we discuss the fact that members of the same family cannot be grown together. Yeah. So yes, okay, or healthy home. It was nice chatting with you. We're glad you were able to join the live. So, yeah, so these are the points that we have discussed, and so we have come to the end of this live. It was so good to hear from everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And that's it. Thank you.